Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I wanted to start off with this video, with this tweet here. This is from Cyflux. Now I wanted to give a shout out here. For those of you that don't know, when you go to my YouTube channel, you will see the video at the top, and it's a video that it's like a collection of different things that I've said, and it's kind of like, it's almost like a hype video, I guess you'd say. But I didn't create that video. It was created just out of the to be nice by Cyflux. That's at CYPHLUX. So when you watch that video, if you like it, you should go and talk to Cyflux, because that's what they do, I guess. But I keep that video posted, and occasionally Cyflux tells me they're thinking about doing another one. We'll see what happens on that. But I just wanted to give them a shout out and make sure everybody understood the credit there. And next, but what they're tweeting out here is what I wanted to show you today. This is from Sid Vicious, who apparently does charting. The tweet that's being tweeted out by Cyflux is this one. It says, let me click on it and then we'll go back to this. It says, guys, we're about to break out on the majority of coins, but we need to sustain these levels to prevent a head and shoulders pattern. And then this tweet goes on, and he's showing this. He says, XRP about to have its first golden cross since April 27th, 2018. And he's got that chart, and it says, here's a little lesson. Back in 2015, 2016, the second XRP golden cross was about 117% from the previous bottom, and 404 days to the fourth golden cross to moon us 7,000+%. So yes, we could see a potential rally. Is it the one we are anticipating? I'm not sure, but I hope it is. And so he's showing you some of his charting here. I kind of gotten interested in showing some of these occasionally, because a lot of these guys are really smart. And charting, as I've told you many times, is not my thing, so I like to show you what they have to say. Next, from Savvy XRP, at SavvyXRP_. Now, what this tweet is about, for those of you that didn't watch it, last night on 60 Minutes, there was a segment on Bitcoin. They showed a Bitcoin mining operation, and they talked to, what's his name, Charlie Shrim, I believe, and then they talked about the Bitcoin pizza guy. But before they got to that segment, there was an entire segment on money laundering that had gone on at a major bank, and this money laundering fraud that had gone on across several countries, and had been, this one guy had uncovered it. And so that's what this tweet is about. 3 words that could have uncovered the $230 billion fraud and or prevented it in the first place on 60 Minutes. And they're just talking about the thing they saw on 60 Minutes. Distributed ledger technology. I would tag the banks involved, but would they care? They made more money on the fraud than the fines they'll pay. And so, as usual, now I'm sure maybe some did in this case, but I didn't hear of anybody that went to jail. I may have missed it, but I didn't hear of anybody that went to jail. As usual, I heard about fines and stuff like that. But though it was apparently like one of the biggest bank laundering frauds in history. Well, for those of you that don't know, if distributed ledger technology was being used, you would be able to very clearly go into the blockchain and see where the money went, where it came from. Very transparent. And maybe this is one of the reasons that the banking system has talked bad about cryptocurrency and digital assets for so many years. Maybe it's kind of like, what I would compare it to is NCAA football. Everybody knows that all of these coaches that get all of these mega stars, everybody knows, everybody that I talk to knows that all of these schools cheat. The difference is that some of them get caught. And that goes back all the way to some, I won't name any names, but that goes back all the way to some of the most loved and famous college football coaches in history. The key is that the good ones are the ones that didn't get caught. But something shady went down in most cases, probably at just about all schools that have had excellent teams. That's just the way it is, and people know that when they really tell the truth behind the scenes. Well, that's kind of what I look at here. If you're a banker and you're looking at this saying, okay, well, if we are involved in this and we make, let's say we make $1 billion, but then our fine is going to be $100 million, how do you think they're going to look at it? That's kind of how I think of that. Okay, moving along. Okay, Bob and Deep XRP sent me this. Now I want to see this. I don't particularly like this, the way this website. It's like a messed up website with all this advertising and all. But I wanted to show you what he sent me. Bitcoin price boom signals massive dystopian panic over 2019 recession, analysts. What I want to show you here is that these traditional financial analysts are finally about to tell you, because of course they are the smartest people on earth. They are finally about to tell you what I've been telling you for over 15 months, and that is that this crypto and digital assets have everything to do with people's distrust of governments that stems directly from the 2008 financial crisis. I've said it before. The worst decision that even though they thought it was helping themselves at the time, the worst decision that was ever made in the history of finance was bailouts, because that was the day, that marked the day that they lost the people. They lost the trust of the people in their financial system. They watched these people bail out failures, bail out people who had created the financial crisis. And the middle class people were allowed to fail. That was fine. But they watched those people bail all of their banker buddies out and laud these guys. And then they watched those same bankers turn around in that same year and give their people that work there bonuses that were record bonuses, took the taxpayer money and then gave record bonuses to their people. It's the biggest crime, financial crime in the history of the world, and the government and the banks were all in on it. Okay, well, let's see. They're finally maybe they're just finally starting to admit it. The sudden swell of Bitcoin's price to $8,000 this year shows global recession fears are mounting. This, according to Michael Hartnett, the chief investment strategist at Bank of America Merrill Lynch. And just to tell you something funny, remember back in the financial crisis, you had Merrill Lynch. Well, Merrill Lynch was bailed out by Bank of America, as I recall. And then Bank of America, as I recall, was bailed out by the U.S. government in one way or another. At the time, I had a friend who was a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch. So I asked him, I said, does this make you a government financial advisor now? So, I mean, you cannot marry the government and the private sector the way they did in the 2008 financial crisis without creating a complete disaster. Because here's the thing that was never said. In supposed free markets and in capitalism, you have what's called competition. Bank A competes with Bank B. Well, if the government comes in and bails out Bank A, what does that do for Bank B? The Bank B is now in essence having to compete with an unlimited source of funds, the federal government, and you no longer have capitalism in that scenario. You have something totally different. That's the problem. That's what they never wanted to talk about. You cannot bail out one guy and not bail out everyone and have true competition, which is what you need in capitalism. You can't have it. You have something totally different. You have dictatorship, maybe? That might be the word for it. Interestingly enough, Hartnett says global investors are investing in Bitcoin not because they see it as a safe haven asset in times of instability, but because they are seeking high-risk, high-reward investments. He argues the effect of low interest rates since 2008 on bond yields has left investors starved for profits. Okay, so let me give you the code here. What he's really saying is the government and the banks have gotten together for the last 10 years to pad their own pockets and pump up the stock market. They've kept interest rates at 0%, and they've screwed the savers among us, and where we can't make any money in interest on anything. And so the savers, the honest, good people that work hard and want to save their money have not been able to make any kind of a return over in interest. And so now they're saying that people are now screwed, and so they're investing in these mega returns with digital assets. Well, that's just part of it, folks. I'll continue to go on and read a little bit more of this. Bitcoin from, let's see, this is JP Morgan. Bitcoin's price only makes sense in a dystopian environment. Earlier this year, John Norman, JP Morgan's head of cross-asset fundamental strategy, said in a research note, We have long been skeptical of cryptocurrencies' value in most environments other than a dystopian one characterized by a loss of faith in all major reserve assets, dollar, euro, yen, gold, and in the payment system. Ding, 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 ding. Let me read that again, folks. These people who are basically have been padding their own pockets, they finally get what you and I think they've always gotten it, but they're finally actually putting it in writing and admitting it. We have long been skeptical of cryptocurrency's value in most environments other than a dystopian one characterized by a loss of faith in all major reserve assets. In other words, all of these major reserve assets that the governments of the world have been printing at will. Dollar, euro, yen, gold. Well, gold isn't really included in that, in my opinion. And in the payment system. And so these guys are finally starting to see what we've been talking about for quite a while. Okay, next from Dalrain at DAHLREIIGN. He sent me this. Central Bank of the Bahamas approaches, they're starting to get regulatory clarity in the Bahamas, and they're gearing their economy up to be able to tokenize assets. Central Bank of Bahamas approaches to regulation of crypto assets in the Bahamas. November 2018. Has anyone info how it looks like today? Well, what I wanted to show you, this is from Central Bank of the Bahamas, a press release. Central Bank of the Bahamas approaches to regulation in crypto assets. I wanted to read you the last line of this. The central bank supports that, well, when referring to the various types of tokens, International Regulatory Convention has settled on crypto assets rather than cryptocurrencies. The central bank supports this approach as it clearly distinguishes between central bank issued fiat currency and private sector products such as Bitcoin or Ripple. I thought you needed to see that. Okay, next, this is interesting. Bulgaria has been smart hoarding a huge amount of Bitcoin, estimated to be over 200,000 Bitcoin. If the price goes over $100,000, then the total value of Bulgaria's Bitcoin reserves would be worth $20 billion, exceeding Britain's total gold reserve value, estimated value of $12.8 billion. In comparison to Tim Draper owns 30,000 Bitcoin. So if the value goes up to 100K, then his Bitcoin would be valued at $3 billion, which would exceed the gold reserve of Bulgaria, estimated to be valued at $2.5 billion. 3D chess moves. And then this caught the attention of Barry Silbert. Source, and then this guy goes on to talk to him. He's talking about how Bulgarian authorities had seized an estimated 300,000 Bitcoin during an operation from a criminal group. Now, there was a guy in this thread. Let me see if I can find it. In reply to, I think he was replying to Barry Silbert. Yeah, here we go. Let me look right here, because I think he when he asked the source, I think a guy posted an article. I remember reading this article a while back. There was an article from, this one. The Bulgarian government is sitting on $3 billion in Bitcoin. This was from CoinDesk back in the day. So yes, it's true. Bulgaria does have a lot of Bitcoin. Next from XRP James at XRP James sent me this. This is from about Coinbase. Institutional investors now make up 60% of Coinbase trading. Brian Armstrong was he's revealed that the majority of traders on Coinbase Pro are institutional now. And he says 90%. He was speaking to Fred Wilson, the co-founder of Union Square Ventures and an investor in Coinbase. 90% of the money in the world is tied up in institutions. It's not just retail. So we started talking to these potential customers. As we've gotten going, institutions have become bigger and bigger part of our business. We've started adding features like over-the-counter trading through Coinbase Custody, where these large block trades are starting to happen. And institutions have become, I think, 60% of our trading volumes. Well, that is interesting. Okay, XRP Crypto Wolf. Cryptocurrencies pose no threat to financial stability. That's from the EU Central Bank. In principle, central bank digital currency could be designed as a user-friendly, risk-free asset that meets the public's demand for an economy that is digitalized and safe. The EU Central Bank says. That's all good news. We know that the EU is right there talking to Ripple too. Okay, from Sergeant Obi-Wan, interest in Bitcoin spikes following major TV show in the U.S. For those of you that are not in the U.S., last night on 60 Minutes, which is a major news program here in the U.S., they did a Bitcoin segment. And what Sergeant Obi-Wan sent me is this article here. And they're talking about, in this article, about how the Google trends spiked big time. Google searches for Bitcoin, what is Bitcoin, and how to buy Bitcoin increased after one of the most popular American TV shows, 60 Minutes, aired a program dedicated to the most popular cryptocurrency on Sunday. Meanwhile, Cryptoland is getting ready for its new citizens. That's great. So, folks, you should be very optimistic. I am. I'm a digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button. And ask your friends and family, did they see the crypto segment on 60 Minutes? Thanks for listening.